it's Chrissy. It's known as Wootini here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. This week I went to the movies and I saw Inside Out 2, the new Pixar sequel. I mean, I liked it better than the first one, I think, because this one has like the teenage emotions like anxiety and embarrassment and stuff that's more... I can identify more with that than with the basic childhood emotion. So that was a little more interesting to me. It was a little more complex than the first one. But I still felt like this was... I liked it a little bit more than the first one, but it's still not like, oh my god, Because I rewatched the first one before I saw this one and was reminded that it's good. It's clever, it's visually inventive, and, it's very clever how it uses, this is what's inside your mind, and it's very funny and clever and whatever, but it just didn't click with me. So, at the end, you're supposed to be like this blubbery mess, all overcome with emotion, and I'm not. I'm just sort of like, aw, that's nice, So I feel like it just doesn't quite click for me. But I know people love the first one, and if you love the first one, you will love this one too, because it's more of the same, and it's still really well done, and it's good. So it's not something that I'm gonna watch over and over again. I'm not gonna buy it to add it to my collection, to watch a bunch of times. Although I will say that if Disney was still releasing 3D Blu-rays, I would buy this on 3D Blu-ray, because the 3D in the first one is not great. It's almost like the director didn't realize it was going to be released in 3D, so he didn't consider that. But this one clearly knew that it was coming out in 3D, because there's a lot of depth to the way he frames his shots and everything, and it there's a hockey puck at one point that comes at the screen, and I flinched, which was pretty awesome. I was like, yay, good for you. But he clearly thought about depth and knew this was going to be in 3D, so I would buy this in 3D, but I'm not going to buy it in 2D, because who cares? But I would support the 3D because it was good 3D. So if you want the extra experience, get a 3D ticket to Inside Out 2, because the 3D was quite good. As for games, I continue to play the hell out of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I did check, I was looking something up, and I was like, while I'm in here, let me just look at the walkthrough list of missions, and I'm over the halfway point at this point. I don't know if I'm 2/3 or whatever, but I was like, let me slow down, and I actually spent some time on Kobo, doing miscellaneous stuff before starting the next story mission. I finally decided to check out the Holo Tactics table, which is the mini game within the game. I had avoided it because these kinds of games are always super annoying. They're card games or miniature games or whatever, and you have to collect cards and miniature where the one in Horizon was they're always just so complicated with the densest rules, and it's what? I don't understand. There was one in Sea of Stars that I was I do not understand. I tried it, and they're try this demo of the game, and I'm just you're not helping me understand how to play this tactics game. I'm what? But thankfully, the Holo Tactics table is relatively simple. It's pretty straightforward. It took me a couple of tries to pick the right... As you scan enemies in the game, you can use them at the Holo Tactics table, and I've scanned all of the regular enemies, so I filled my roster. So, you're fighting somebody and they're okay, well, I'm going to send out these 3 stormtroopers. And you're okay, well, I'm going to send out this stormtrooper and this bedlam raider and this monster. And you have a certain number of points that you allocate, and the bigger people are worth more points. So you could send one really strong guy out, but he might not beat the 3 smaller guys, So there's a little strategy and stuff, but it's not overly complicated, and I really appreciated that. And I only did 2 rounds because I wanted to do the first one as an introductory level that would be easy. And then I did the second one against Grease because the prize, if you beat Grease, the prize was this flight jacket that looked really cool. And I wanted to wear that, so I wanted to beat him. So, but I don't know how much of the Holo Tactics I'll go back to. Depends. 'Cause- Depends on how hard it gets, because I might want the other rewards. But I don't know how much of the Holo Tactics I'll go back to. Depends on how hard it gets, because I might want the other rewards. Depends on how hard it gets, because I might want the other rewards. Depends on how hard it gets, because I might want the other rewards. But but they were people that you rescue out in the wilds of Kobo, and they like come back to the saloon. And I have now recruited everyone for the saloon. The last one that I needed to get turned out to be a Jawa. I love Jawas. That's my screen name is Wootini, even though it's spelled differently than it is officially spelled in the screenplay. I didn't know that at the time. I just spelled it how I phonetically thought. But anyway, I followed up on the rumor that the Jawa settlement on Kobo was under attack by raiders, and so I found it, and I fought off all the raiders, and they were very grateful, and this Jawa comes back to the settlement, and that was everybody. So I completed that, got my trophy. But as I've been exploring, like, I thought I had all the powers, because I got this new force power to, like, lift things and slam them down. But everyone is in the settlement, but there's still these like glowy these like electric things with lightning inside, these like cylinders with like electric lightning inside, and I don't know what they're for. I can't do anything to them. So clearly there's yet another new ability that I will get at some point, and then I can finally finish up on Kobo. Though I did do another rumor that turned out to really be worth it was exploring the funky caves. Well, it's spelled funky, but I mean, come on, funky caves. So I fought my way down through them, got down to the bottom. There were a bunch of annoying enemies, but I got all the way to the bottom, and there was a Rancor who I tried to fight, but I'm still not able to kill the Rancor. It's really tough. It's a very tough enemy. It's annoying. And I didn't need to fight him, so I said never mind, because I was thinking of lowering the difficulty just for the fight, but I was like, I don't need to fight him, so it's fine, I'll just go this way instead. And then the end of that turned out to be, oh, here's this evil Jedi that you have to fight, and while I'm fighting him, another one comes out, and then a third, and then I'm fighting 3 enemies at the same time with 3 massive health bars in a condensed space, and it was really tough. But I did manage to pull it off. By the skin of my teeth, I pulled it off. I used up all my stim canisters, and I had like a half a health bar left, but I did finish it. And it totally was worth it, because at the end, BD activates a terminal and unlocks this thing that basically marks on your maps every single treasure. So, like, you can look at the map and be like, oh, I need to go over here, I need to go over there. It, like, puts all these treasure chests all over your map. And I'm like, that's super cool and helpful, and I like that a lot. So that was totally worth the effort of going through the funky caves. But I don't have that electric power yet. And this time on Kobo, it was nighttime, which made it kind of hard to see everything. So I was like, you know what? Let's stop doing random things on Kobo and like following up rumors. Let's go back and do another story mission. That way when I come back to Kobo, hopefully it'll be daylight again, and then I can see better. So we'll see. The other thing I wanted to talk about was it's E3 time, even though there is no more E3. This is when E3 would be. I'm getting I keep seeing Facebook memories over the past week. I've had all these Facebook memories of my previous trips to E3 many years ago. So now is when some, people are releasing what they would release at E3 and showcase what's in development. I thought Ubisoft's presentation was kind of awesome because they went old school E3. Like, they had a theater and they had live music and an audience and everything. It was very old school E3 presentation. I mean, it seems like a waste of money to me, but you do you, Ubisoft. Unfortunately, with Ubisoft, there wasn't really anything in their presentation that made me go, ooh, can't wait to play that. The only thing that caught my eye were the gameplay demonstrations for Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows. And it reminded me of how back in the day, I remember they used to have they'd show a trailer and then they'd have the developer would come out and be like, now we're going to show you some gameplay. This is Joe, and he's holding a controller and he's supposedly playing the game as he talks you through the gameplay. And I'm just like, that is no way connected to anything. You are not actually playing this demo. There's no way you would do that. There's too many things that could go wrong. No one would ever do a live demo. So I never believed that those controllers were connected to anything. And I prefer it when they're just like, here's some video of gameplay. Don't pretend that you're playing it, because we all know you're not. And I will say that the Star Wars Outlaws gameplay, it looks really cool, it looks fun, and is totally up my alley, and I'm kind of into it. Whereas the Assassin's Creed Shadows gameplay, I'm a little less sold on. As you might recall, if you are a longtime viewer, I prefer the later Assassin's Creed games when they got all RPG to the original ones. Like, I have not played Mirage yet, because Mirage feels like a throwback to the pure stealth, and if you mess it up, you're fucked, and you can't fight back kind of thing. So I'm not into that. I prefer the RPG ones where it's like, you can stealth your way through, but then if you fail at the stealth and they see you, you're strong enough to fight them off, and it's fine. So when they show the gameplay, like, the one character, the samurai, is like, that's the big face-to-face fighter, okay, fine, but the ninja is like the assassin ninja stealthy thing, and they're like, the gameplay they're showing, like, she's just flying through everything, and zip, zip here, zip, zip there, kill that guy, zip over here, go under here, and do this, and then kill your guy. And it's like, whoa. And I'm just looking at that, and I'm like, obviously they're doing this for the gameplay, because it's not how anyone would actually do it, because you wouldn't know to do all of those things so quickly. And I'm like, I would be like pausing, and I'd be like looking around, and that's when they would catch me, and I'd have to start over, and it would just be a pain in the ass. So I'm a little not sure how this Assassin's Creed is going to play. So that one is definitely a wait and see. Star Wars Outlaws is becoming a wait and see. It's still wait and see what the reviews are like, but I'm not going to wait too long for that one, I think. I don't know. That one I would pick up before Assassin's Creed, maybe. I don't know. But what really surprised me, honestly, was Microsoft's Xbox showcase, where I was like, I think I have to get an Xbox. Like, obviously they were showing, like, you know, Gears of War and Doom and the shooters that you would expect from Microsoft. But they also showed other things that I'm like, oh, because obviously they have the Bethesda stuff. Like, I already want to play Starfield, and they showed some DLC for Starfield that I was like, this feels a little too, like, sci-fi fantasy to me, but, you know, I wanted the grounded sci-fi, but whatever. But Bethesda's also doing that Indiana Jones game that looks pretty cool, and that's going to be an Xbox exclusive. And then, you know, they showed off Fable, and I'm like, oh yeah, I love the Fable games. Making a new next-gen Fable, I'm into that. And then there were other things. Then there was like that mixtape game where I was like, oh, what is this? Like, kind of a narrative. It wasn't really clear what the game was. It looks like a narrative story game with like some exploration and maybe some like platforming and skateboarding or something. But it's told me it's set in the 80s and the soundtrack is awesome, and I'm super, like, that caught my eye. I was like, yes, please. And so now I'm like, oh, so now Microsoft actually, like, because Bethesda was always a good get for them, because I will want to play future Bethesda games, and you're going to need an Xbox or a PC in order to do that, but I'd rather get an Xbox than a PC. PCs are much more expensive, and then you got to worry about the graphics cards and having the right processor and all that nonsense. I'm like, just give me an Xbox. That's why I like consoles. You just plug and play, basically. So I'm like looking at these exclusives and thinking, ooh, I might have to get an Xbox. Oh well. Thankfully, I don't have to get the $500 Xbox with all the bells and whistles and the disc drive. I can buy one of the digital S's. I can buy a Series S for $300. Although I would probably go for $350 to get the black one with the bigger hard drive, just because the hard drives fill up quick. So yeah, that's coming, like, soon, I'm afraid, but we'll see. So I'm going to shut up now. I've rambled on too long. Come back next episode, and I'll be still playing Star Wars, and who knows what else I'll have to talk about. See you then. Bye!